It's Paul Marsh, and I am delighted to say that I've been joined by comedian Tom Stade. Tom, how are you, sir?
Always fantastic, Paul. Always fantastic. I wouldn't want to burden anybody with my problems, so I'm always going to be, I'm always going to be delightful around you, Paul. No
Well,
worries.
don't get me wrong. It would be a very different interview, but sharing is caring. If you've got any problems, you just unload them on me.
Oh, well. The only problem I got is I need to sell tickets, Paul. That's what I got.
Then
That's my
I'm
big.
I'm
That's
your
that's
man.
most. That's most of us entertainers. I mean, we have problems in writing shows, but never forget we need this. We need those shows to be seen by people, and people want to see them, but they might not have the information. They might not know where to go, and that's where our connection comes in, Paul.
There we go. Well,
You are a conduit for me to the people. You are the middleman, and I love you for it, Paul.
well, I think it was around about a year ago you were in Portsmouth last, and that evening sold
Yeah.
out. I
Mm-hmm.
remember you very kindly sorted me and a friend out with a couple of tickets, and
Yeah.
I think we were doing something else on the night, and we turned up late, and I missed maybe literally the first 5 to 10 minutes of your show, but we turned up late. And when we came in, we couldn't get a seat. They have like the extra seats right at the back for the staff. They had to give
Yeah.
those seats up for us so that we could sit and watch.
That's, you know what? Just hearing this story brings me back to glory days. It makes me feel good, Paul. So I have a feeling it might be like that again, Paul. But you never can tell with the comedy viewing market. You never know what they're going to do. But
Well,
yes,
I think
this show.
I think everybody that came last year, there was so much laughter. Literally, I remember crying from laughter. So I would say that
Mm.
anybody that came last year, unless there's a good reason, like I don't know, they've had their car stolen or something and they can't make it to Portsmouth, I don't know why they wouldn't come back.
Oh, well, Paul, well, fingers are crossed on that one. But I can definitely tell you, Paul, that if you love last year's show, this one, like a lot of people know this, right, Paul? This is what I get all the time, man, because I'm so prolific, Paul. I write a new show. I write a killer show every year. It's just what I'm good at. For some reason, I'm really good at that. And some
Nothing
people are
else in
great
life,
at,
but this,
uh,
this I can nail.
I, I might, I've also been married 29 years, so that might be there, but I'll tell you the one I enjoy more. Um, uh, but I go every year, and some people think, hey, we saw Tom last year and think it's the same show, but it never is.
Yeah.
I just want the listeners to know it never is. I'm not one of those comedians that you'll never hear the same thing, but this show is one of my favorite ones. For some reason, Paul, some comedians don't get better as time goes on. But for me, I keep going up. And this show is so fantastic. Risky Business. It's actually one of my favorites. It's actually one of my favorites. It seems to be a culmination of life and bringing all these generations together for a laugh. And I'm seeing people that, like, we had an 80-year-old and a 16-year-old in the audience on the last show we did, and I
Wow.
think it was crazy. It was so great. It was in Hemel Hempstead, and I was blown away. It was Oscar and Finley, and just to see that generation that I'm bringing in people from all ages, it blows my mind. You know what I mean? I'm very grateful for things like that, man. So
I love that. That's
if you're
fantastic.
thinking,
It's so great to see that, like you say, you're appealing to everybody, the young and the old. Now, I do have a
yeah,
question for you. So, your show is called Risky Business. The
yeah,
last time we spoke, we were coming up with like future show names, and we came up with Stayed and Deliver, and we came up
yeah.
with Stayed and Never Left. Now, the question is, did my lawyers charge too much for you to use it?
Of course they did, Paul. We were in negotiations with
Right.
them. I said I'll give them 50p. They said they wanted 65, and I said I'm not budging. And that's when I left the table, Paul. I don't,
Do you know
I
what?
stick to
And
my guns.
I only would have got 25p of that. The lawyers would have taken their cut.
Welcome to Britain, buddy. Welcome to Britain. Things are getting expensive.
So why risky business? Why is the tour called Risky Business?
Well, the one thing is everybody knows I'm always the safest rebel out there. You know what I mean? And I always like just not going over the line, but pushing it a little bit because I always think that's what comedy is.
Yeah.
Like if you don't push the limits, you're selling products. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
you're one of those guys that just just kind of rehashes the same old thing. But if you're a little bit truthful and a little bit vulnerable, there's always that little bit naughty. You know what I mean? And I've always been a little bit naughty. Everybody knows that, but within the parameters of being okay naughty. Not like Epstein naughty. See,
Too far.
that's
Too far.
my too far. That would be too far. But so what this show is for me, it's bringing like the different generations, like speaking about the language of the 20-year-olds versus the language of the 80-year-olds. And it is a risky business trying to make everybody understand where each generation is coming from and seeing the differences and also seeing the similarities.
Hmm.
And that's what I've always been good at. Like I can always turn a show and make it feel like you're so part of the show. You're actually so involved. It's like so interactive all the time. So that's why the show's risky business, is because once you start trying to make an 80-year-old understand a 20-year-old, all of a sudden it can get a little bit frictiony, but very funny. Very, very funny. Oscar and Finley were hilarious. And Finley was 16 and Oscar was 81. And it was
Oh,
just so,
I
so
can't even
funny.
imagine the conversation between those two. I can't even imagine. Absolutely.
Mm. Yeah, it was great. And I was really and you know what? I'm kind of honored to be a part of their lives when you get involved in them. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm very honored that they feel comfortable with me, because a lot of people take the piss out of people. I don't take the piss out of people. I engage in them and
Yeah.
we have a laugh together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even though it may, go in weird ways. But even Oscar was killing himself. Because here's the other thing. I don't talk to the older generation like they're older.
Oh,
I talk to them like we're all in high school. You know what I mean? And we're all just friends. So I'm not creating a hierarchy of any
yeah.
kind.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and I think the older generation likes that, because I don't like being seen as this old guy, because in my in here I'm still 20. There's been no change. It's
Yeah.
only when I look in the mirror, and when I look in the mirror and somebody talks to me like I'm 54, I'm like, who are you talking to? You know what I mean? And I feel that way even when you're 90 and 80. You know what I mean? And all those. I mean, yeah, my grandkids can talk to me. I don't have any, thank God, but they can talk to me like I'm grandpa. But if I'm just talking to a normal stranger, if I'm 80, you better be talking to me like I'm 25, man.
I always felt that in my heart, I still feel like I'm 21 years old. But the only time when I feel like
Oh,
I'm 50 is when I'm trying to tie up my shoelaces. That's hitting
either that
harder.
or letting
You
that bending down.
you mentioned earlier about your marriage. Next year is your 30th anniversary. Next year
Yeah.
is going to be my 10th anniversary. So, what advice can
Wow.
you give me?
Uh, I've been thinking about this for the next show. So I'm going to give you an idea, because everybody talks about toxicity in a relationship. And that's where I think the younger generation goes wrong because there's always going to be toxicity in any relationship, whether it's your best friend, whether it's your mother, whether it's your brother, whether, and these people seem to want to cut that toxicity out instead of letting it wash over them and feel comfortable. Like you're the Joker from Batman, like there's with 30 years, and I think everybody knows there's always going to be times when people freak out, man. Like I'm guilty of it. My wife's guilty of it. My kids are guilty of it, but I'm not abandoning them. Do you know what I mean? Because we made a promise to each other through thick and thin. But this generation, see every Instagram post I see, red flag relationship. Do you
Oh
know how
yeah,
many
yeah.
red flags me and my wife have? So many, so many red flags. But you know what we do? We just grab them and throw them away.
I
Ignore it.
I did an interview with a therapist a while ago, and she basically sort of said, "Have you met men? Have you met women? How they've coexisted for all of these years is beyond me."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it isn't beyond me because people are people, man. We have emotions. We have fears. We have anxieties. We try to be as stoic as we can. We do. We do. But this the part of this human experience, you don't really not want to have those feelings because to be honest with you, they're fun. It's it's fun to be angry.
As
It's fun to be sad. It's all those things. Imagine if you didn't have them, you would
imagine if
miss
you
them.
felt nothing.
You would miss them
Yeah,
completely.
yeah,
I'm not saying all the time. Like if you're sad all the time, well, then maybe you should go and see a
yeah,
therapist.
yeah.
But if Trudy pisses me off, and she knows me. She knows my buttons, man. And maybe one day she wakes up and goes, Tom's bugging me today. I was just going to poke him a little
It's when you wake up and she's looking at you with a shovel in her hand. You go, okay,
bit.
right.
Yes,
We've reached that point in the
yes, yes,
relationship now. I want to finish
yeah.
up by asking you a question. So, at the gig a year ago at the Portsmouth Guildhall, you stayed
Okay.
behind and took a picture with every single person that wanted to take a picture with you. Why is that so important to you that you do that?
Well, I I I like my fans. I feel and fans isn't a good word. I like the people that come and support me. Okay. I've always thought that, whenever I went to a concert, if there were a few times, and my dad said this, but I'm gonna cancel him out of this conversation, but it's kind of where it comes from. You always realize that if you go to see somebody that you really love, like my fans are so loyal, Paul. They are like they show me pictures. Um, like it's like we grew up together for crying out loud, man. There are pictures of me in my 30s with them still coming to this day. Um, and I just think that when you get to talk to the person that you've come to see and that you love, and you want to tell them something, you want to show them that picture. This was us. We went and had a beer in Shrewsbury. You remember that time and all that sort of stuff, or maybe it's their first time coming. Do you know what I mean? And they go, oh my God, Tom made this not just a funny show, but it became personal, and I feel like I know Tom, and I like that. I like going out and meeting these people and having a solid connection. It's probably why I'm not selling out arenas right now, but we'll get there eventually. You know what I mean? I'm not dying anytime soon.
That's a
But
long meet and greet after the O2 sells out, isn't
yeah,
it?
you know what? The problem would be is I know me. I would walk off that stage right through that arena, shaking everybody's hands and getting pictures. I would march them over to my merch desk. I tell you that because yeah, because I'm not selling out arenas. Please buy a T-shirt. I'll when I die, I'll sign them, and when I die, they'll be worth lots. Okay, but I'm selling T-shirts this year, and they're really great. Trudy designed them, and I thought they were fabulous. So we decided to actually cart these things around in my car, even though I hate them. But yeah, but I do go and meet all these people because to me, like if I go to a concert and I get to meet like the band, the lead singer of the band, that concert just became so much more
Yeah,
important to
yeah,
me. It
yeah.
did. And that's what I try to give all the people that come and support me, and
Well,
I love them all.
it's absolutely fantastic that you do that. Tom, as always, I've absolutely loved talking to you. I wish that we could talk for hours and hours and hours, but we don't have the
Paul,
time.
can I just lead people to my social media accounts
Of
before we
course.
get out of here?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Listen, I'm learning. That used to not be important to me, Paul, but I'm learning it's starting to become important. So if you're listening to this, come and follow me on Twitter. It's Tom Stade Comic. Instagram, it's stade.tom. TikTok, I'm not too sure yet. I just started that. I think it's Tom Stade Comic. And there's also a Facebook fan page. And if you need to, just go to tomstade.com, my website. And if I'm not playing Portsmouth and you got a buddy that loves me and knows that I'm in a town that he lives in, tell him just to go to my website. And most of the information is there, tomstade.com. You can find all my, what do the kids call them? Socials. all my all my socials there.
Tom,
And
thank you
thank you so
so
much,
much for
Paul.
talking to me, mate. I really, really do appreciate it. Portsmouth Guildhall on November the 24th. Tom is going to be there. If you've laughed at all during this interview, I promise you that you will laugh even more when you see Tom's show. He is the most funny man, and I can say that because I have seen him live and we just cried with laughter. So funny. Tom, thank you so much for talking to me.
Paul, it's an honor, and I hope to see you there, people in Portsmouth. You'll have a great time, no doubt about it.